I spent some time during the sessions and just being an observer and listening, and I heard someone saying that, you know, this immigrant got a job and they're so grateful. Yeah. That gratitude is what makes me still call the first person who gave me a job, the husband and wife team, I still call them my Canadian family. And Frank just has to make a call and I'll drop everything and be by his side. That is the immigrant work ethic. We're coming here because we don't want to come here to be different than Canadians. We come here to be Canadian. And we have a lot of these esoteric conversations about, you know, are we an immigrant? Are we a Canadian because I became a citizen? You know what? We came here to become Canadians. We want to be part of you. We don't want to be separate. There are some who do, but by and large, this is what my experience has been. And then let's talk about the social reason. The social reason is it's the right thing to do. We are a country, which is an amazing country. I don't know how many of you have ever seen the citizenship document that you get when you swear to become a citizen. And there is one document, there's one word in that document that amazes me, because I believe that that word defines us and goes beyond all these discussions about Canadian values, and that word is compassion. We define ourselves as a compassionate nation. And so it is the right thing to do. But I am preaching to the converted today, aren't I? What is needed is not whether to hire and integrate immigrants into the workplace, but how do we do it in a win-win scenario? This report must result in an outreach to small and medium enterprises fulfilling their labor needs. Can I repeat that? This report must have a result that is an outreach to small and medium enterprises for hiring immigrants. We need to teach them what I'm about to talk to you about. Because if it does not, look, the large corporations, the RBCs and all those large corporations, they're federally mandated. As I say, I'm completely politically incorrect, so as I say, got a couple of blacks, a couple of browns, a couple of, you know, what all the, fill in all the other colors, yeah, you're okay. But it's the small companies. The small companies don't do that. Why? Let's go through that. Because they are risk averse. Small companies are more risk averse than large companies. Think about it. You're a small business. You got to handle sales, you got to handle inventory, you need to handle purchasing, and so you have to go through assessing foreign credentials. Oh my God, do I know whether this is really true? Whether this person's really done this kind of education? Okay? How long will it take to train them? And what about do they understand English well enough? And then, of course, I'm looking for someone who's going to be a leader. Does this person have potential leadership skills? These are all the questions that are going through the employer's mind. So let's talk about the strategies. Okay. Hiring practices are the doorway for immigrants to the Canadian workplace. In my marquee speech, 7 Success Secrets for Canadian Immigrants, I focus on what immigrants can do to cross that barrier from interviewee to hired employee. There are countless agencies, programs, and publications geared towards how immigrants can better their chances. We are told, Canadianize your resume. They learn about personalized cover letters and confident handshaking in an interview. But when they're sitting across the employer, they will not be so homogenized that their diversity disappears. For the 3 imperatives that I discussed, here's what you can do or get your small and medium employers to do. Number 1 is be aware of the bias. Recent university studies have shown that the simple detail of a foreign-sounding name makes it more likely to end up in the slush pile. And they actually did give a list of the names that had the lowest call rate. Muhammad and Ahmad topped that list. I'm just saying. Recognize this and don't discriminate based on such details. Sometimes I wonder if I had sent out I should send out a resume with Naeem and see if I get a job. Not that I want one, but, you know, recognize this and let's not discriminate based on these details. Some forward-thinking organizations, and I can't name them, have worked with focusing on the skill set. They actually go so far as to hide the name of the educational university that you studied at. Because if you can't pronounce that university, what are you going to do at the interview? I can't pronounce the name. And they have done really well. And they look at the skill set of the individual. The fact is, even when organizations have diversity policies in place, and I've seen some of them, when a resume gets in front of a hiring manager, it is subject to a bias. However advanced and conscious we are as a country, a level of systemic discrimination still exists. That systemic discrimination will make me, John Smith, hire Tony Smith or Peter Smith or Joan Smith, who studied at Capilano College. Oh, I went to that college. What year were you there? So it happens. Don't disregard international experience. You know, international experience in a workplace can be very helpful, like the Chinese and the German couple. If necessary, you know, get them to send an email to the former boss. And these are all things that I tell immigrants. You know, you've got to be prepared before you come here. Get your former boss to agree to an email recommendation. Don't disregard international educational credentials. Ask them to complete the credential evaluations so you can compare them with Canadian degrees. It isn't the responsibility of the employer to research someone's schooling, but you can ask for the information. At the interview stage, don't expect everyone to fit into the same round hole. I was hired, by the way, with a background, 23 years in advertising. I was hired by a publishing company. And the reason they hired me was because I had worked for Walt Disney, which had nothing to do with a publishing magazine for the travel trade business. I was a square peg. But they hired me. Don't judge an immigrant if they have a limp handshake, seem a little aloof. Immigrants have a hard time talking about their achievements. Recognize that as well. Start probing during the interview time. If you're risk averse, consider hiring them on a trial basis, either on a freelance basis, or say, you know what, can you come and just do a couple of days out here? Do a bit of job shadowing, see if we fit each other. It's a good way to break down these barriers. Most immigrants will surprise you and outperform. And I have seen so many cases where an immigrant goes in and has done exactly that and got a job. Why is that? Let's ask ourselves. Incorporate a welcoming diversity workplace culture. And I heard this spoken in one of the groups. Consider that if those with the power to hire feel uncomfortable or fearful of the unknown, that sentiment does exist in the organization. In today's day and age, it's important to not just tolerate difference, but embrace it. So what are the strategies you can employ to ensure that I walk into a company and I feel that, yes, you know, this is a good company I'd like to work for? Again, I've seen so much change happen in the 14 years I have been in Canada, from a scenario where we used to celebrate just Christmas. Now, you know, Diwali, Dussehra, Baisakhi, as is Chinese New Year, is so much a part of mainstream celebration. It's changed. Why don't we also start taking that to the Christmas thing? Christmas is celebrated by everyone. Why can't we all celebrate Diwali? Or why can't we all celebrate Chinese New Year? Any Chinese out here? No? Yeah. How did I learn? Gong Hai Fa Choi. Right? This is about making that effort. When I go across the country speaking to immigrants, and I speak to immigrants from all ethnic communities, I have developed the ability to say hi to them in 17 different languages. Why? Because it breaks down the barriers. Easy. But you can do a lot more. For example, do brown bag sessions where it can be a lunch and learn. Let everyone come together. You don't want to see lunch rooms in Canada where you have Indians in one area, Chinese in one area, Filipinos in one area, and excuse me for being politically incorrect, the white guys in the other area. That's not what this is about. A detailed company manual. Please understand one thing. I come from a country which is completely different. So, in India and in Dubai, where I was last, you're expected to wear a suit every single day. So I wore a suit for my first day for the interview, and of course I went to work on the first day in a suit. And Frank comes in wearing a Hawaiian shirt and shorts. You can imagine how I felt. So we don't know. It's important to have a manual that talks about what is the dress code? What is the holiday? What's the holiday code? What if you want to take a day off? Tell me about it. I don't know anything. I even drove on the other side of the road. Remember, I didn't say wrong side, the other side. And offer a lot of this information via your intranet. It's easy. It's not difficult. BC Hydro created a fantastic model on cultural awareness, cross-country cultural awareness. I think a gentleman out here talked about the Aboriginal aspect. Amazing stuff, which really is so great, it should be used by everyone. And adapted to the immigrant community. Immigrants, let's talk about them. I never went out with my boss for a drink until I came to this country. Serious. It just is not so. India and the Middle East tends to be very layered. So you never you can't go out for a drink with God. It's not okay. That's who He is. Encourage connections outside of a cultural context. Sports clubs. Summer is a great time to connect with your employees. Lunchtime yoga, volunteering in the community or on behalf of the company. The ideas are endless. Ask your employees for the ideas. Let them answer the ideas. I am a huge, huge, huge advocate of mentorship. I would not be here standing where I am today if not for the 12 mentors. I know 12 mentors, yes, seriously. I overdid that. But I had 12 mentors who helped me and mentored me in different aspects. So when the Toronto Star was negotiating with me to acquire the Canadian Immigrant magazine, I had 2 of my mentors by my side. One of whom was the former CEO of Citibank, Russia, and my former boss. The other, one of the largest boutique angel investors in BC. And the guys in Toronto, how do you come up with these questions, Nick? Don't worry, I have a great team out here. So I encourage mentor match-up programs. Look into internal mentorship programs.